Welcome to the Nuff Said Podcast. This is episode 7. Psst. I think I said that right.
I think you spelled it wrong.
Ooh, I missed a Z, I think. I'm your host, rambunctious Rob Southgate, and with me...
Jinxing Jacqueline Grosky.
Jinxing! I like it! The other night I was laying in bed, and I was, all of a sudden I thought, oh my gosh, I don't have one of those names. And I thought of like 20 names, and of course here I go to do this, and I can't remember one of them, and rambunctious is the first thing that came out of my mouth, so...
Well, because that's the one you used for last episode.
That, and no, I didn't.
Yeah.
Rambunctious?
Rambunctious, yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm reticulated Rob Southgate.
There you go.
Yeah, it was the first thing that came out of my mouth was that, and the second thing was a chunk of waffle, because I've got a waffle cough going on this morning from eating waffles.
Oh, lovely. Now,
Yeah.
is reticulating, is that from the, if you watch the cartoon Ren and Stimpy, and that's, something physical that happens to you?
It is now.
Reticulating.
Oh, you know what? That actually, because you people out there don't know this, but we are recording this early in the morning, which never happens. I am not a morning person, so I'm sitting here with my coffee and my waffle and a lot of zombie brain damage going on. And I think the term for how I am in the morning would be renticulating.
All right.
So, although Ren was the angry one, so I'd be stimticulating.
There you go.
When I'm angry, I'm renticulating. So, are we going to talk about this show or what?
I think we should. I think we should just get started. I think we're starting to waffle.
Oh man.
Oh, sorry about that.
That, you know what? Truly enjoyed that. Good one, Jack.
All right, so what did you think about S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of coming back into the fold?
Okay, right up front, let's get to S.H.I.E.L.D. because S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't in this one a lot. I actually thought this was played really well. I thought they were doing some nice character development there by having her be like under the microscope a little bit and being uncomfortable with it. I think it was a little cookie cutter how, Ward is nope, and everyone else is kind of like, oh, wait a minute, she's kind of coming back. But at the same time, it did cause a little bit of tension, and I think most of the tension, the reason I said I thought this was handled well, was actually how the actress handled that, how S.H.I.E.L.D. handled it. I thought that she did a really nice job of seeming like, I screwed up, and I don't like being in the hot seat.
Right, and that was a lot of the interaction, and there was just enough for her to kind of be, all right, she's emotionally involved, and people are seeing that, but, she's a little under, they kind of inferred it and, made a reference to the kind of the lockdown bracelet that they put on her wrist.
Right.
And other than that, you don't see a whole lot of restriction, but there is that thing where they're looking at her.
Yeah, they are. They're watching. Well, I like that this is something that... And see, I can't tell if other people that are watching this are perceiving this the same way, but I really like Agent Coulson, and I really like what is happening with Agent Coulson. The reason I say I don't know how other people are reacting, I think that they're thinking, oh, he wouldn't really be leading this way, or he wouldn't be soft in this case with S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
But I really think that Clark Gregg has made decisions about where the mentality is of Agent Coulson, how he would handle this, how he feels about his team. I think that he has, like with S.H.I.E.L.D., he knows that was a mistake. He knows that was happening. He might even know that was happening, now that I say that, whereas the rest of them don't. So his decisions, how he's handling her, how he's handling the team, I think it's being very true to his character.
Well, it's funny, being true to the character, I think that's a little tricky because I think right now they're in the process of changing his character.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they are, but I think that they're changing his character, but they're changing his character in broader strokes. I think it's these little things. I think it's like how he. Okay, a great example is the scene where Ward was unforgiving to her, and Agent Coulson was like, "Hey, she's trying." That to me was a small thing where if he had delivered the line in one way, it would have come off uh, as meaning like, "Get back in your place." She's trying, get back in your place. He said it in a way that was more tender, like, "I have forgiven her. Listen to my words."
Right. And I think that's true to the Coulson character. I think what I'm talking about is, him kind of talking back to the command, kind of going on his own,
Oh, wait, are you
and
talking about when he was dealing with Agent Blake?
exactly.
Okay, let's get that one out right now. It was awesome to see Agent Blake.
Yeah, it was.
Now, did you watch Item 47?
I did.
Okay, so you now know who Agent Blake is, right?
Right.
Okay. I loved Agent Blake. I loved Item 47. I thought that was a really cool Marvel one shot. I really enjoyed that whole thing. And I thought Blake. Okay, I can't get these thoughts together. I told you it's early here. If you take what S.H.I.E.L.D. is, what this show is, and the criticism people have had about, well, it's a little jokey or a little lighthearted, I think that whole thing stems out of Agent Blake's performance in Item 47.
Now, when you say that,
I'm not saying it in a negative way. I'm saying that they looked at that, they're developing a tone off of how those characters interacted in that particular short. And I think that he was a big influence on how it is. And I think including him in the new show is going to do that. It's going to infuse it with that type of attitude.
yeah, well, it kind of gives us somebody to not really fight against, but it's that kind of, okay, that's the authority figure, but I think Coulson kind of put him in his place and said, you know what? This is my team, and you're not going to be able to do anything with it.
Yeah, right. Well, and he stood up to Nick Fury a little bit, but you're not going to get Samuel Jackson on every week. And you also, I mean, he's the director. Yes, Coulson is going to deal with him, but this is the guy in the middle. This is the guy who is, not thrilled at his position. So he's going to take a pound of flesh a little bit here and there, but he's not your typical, "You're getting it wrong, Coulson," one of those guys. Did you like that impression? That was every police chief on every 70s movie.
Exactly.
Actually, 80s movie. Wasn't that more? That was more like something you'd have on Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
Briggs and Montour, you get out there! And that was a little bit more Mr. T.
Mr. T runs the police academy.
How come Mr. T isn't on this show?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, would that be awesome?
You messing with the wrong fool.
Oh, please. Please, let that happen. Oh, there's so much I want to see happen here. Anyway, I got off track there. With Blake, I think that you're right. Blake he's that internal enemy, but he's not a bad guy. He's the guy that Coulson, he's just going to kind of be a burr in Coulson's side. Coulson is going to handle him like he did, but you're always going to know, like, there's somebody watching. There's somebody he's going to have to answer to, and it's not just Nick Fury.
Right. He doesn't have absolute control. It's still part. Well, it keeps you tied into the system. S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't a bunch of rogue agents kind of doing their own thing. It's an organization, and it kind of keeps you plugged into that.
Right, exactly. Because right now, up to this point, Coulson's been pretty autonomous with his group.
Right.
And, yeah, Fury came in and yelled at him about the plane, but what did he have to answer to? This guy, Blake, is a little bit above Coulson. Even though they're both level 7, he has to answer to him in some way. Or at least they're equal, and he's calling him out.
Right. Well, he's the one that, does the orders from above, which, maybe kind of puts him, if he feels comfortable coming in and kind of reading him the riot act, I have a feeling that, maybe, he is, like you say, even if he's not a little above, he's tied into the he's the one passing on the orders at the very least.
Right. Right. He's your middleman. He's your pain in the butt.
Right.
Every great team needs an enemy to fight against. It doesn't have to be a supervillain. It's got to be, if you have a team, let's say you have a store, and all the people in that store are starting to gel. It's not all, love and roses all over the place. There's somebody above them. There's a regional manager, a district manager who is a pain in the butt. Even if the boss above them is awesome and they just love their boss, there's somebody cogging it up. And that person, even though you think, why do they have them there? That person's important because it makes that team gel.
Right.
We have a common enemy.
Like you say, Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury is just not going to be around long enough to fill that position.
Right. Well, and he's Nick Fury. He's got the entire world to deal with.
Right.
This guy, Agent Blake, has his section, and he's got Agent Coulson to deal with. There goes the voice. When my voice starts to go like this, I either sound like Suzanne Plachette, oh, Bob, or do you remember that show, Night Court?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, remember the bailiff, the woman?
Yeah.
I sound like her. I have a little bit of a smoker voice.
Oh, Michael.
That's the voice.
Right.
But what I can't do is Tweaky. I've been doing, last week you imitated Tweaky from Buck Rogers on Input Junkie. I've been doing that all week.
It's infectious.
I can't do it right now, though, because for some reason I got like something going on. So when I do it, bitty bitty buck, it doesn't have the tone to it. Let's hear it, Jack.
Bitty bitty buck, bitty bitty buck. You have to, it's like a double, it's like a double tone. So... Let's
Why isn't Tweaky on this show?
Agent Tweaky.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So this has gone down. Let's get back to the show here.
Yeah.
Now, I thought it was very interesting that they had Fitz start to flirt a little with
Sky.
With Sky.
Yeah.
Because you figure. Is he and Simmons, are they more like brother sister?
So let's talk about that a little bit. I wrote down in my notes here, this was the love episode.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was, what was that? Were you from room 227? Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Oh man, we shouldn't record in the morning. So this was full of love as opposed to us, which is full of something else. And you had Fitz definitely loving on Sky. Sky oblivious to it. Now, you said the thing about Fitz and Simmons. Are they brother-sister? What type of relationship? I think they were showing us that they have a very close relationship, but it is Simmons liking Fitz.
Right.
Because he said, you went up here, you brought me along, you did this. That's because she wants him with. All through college, into their professional career, she's always finding a way to bring him with.
What she is, like you say, she's the one that really likes him. I think he's just starting to figure that out.
Yeah, I think he's oblivious for the most part, but this episode, he got a clue.
Right. And, I think they're going to develop that somewhat because, him and Sky just, that's not going to work. That's really,
No.
You could see the personalities.
It's not going to go very far.
Right. Not in the same,
How about
not in the same league?
How about Coulson and May, though? There was a little spark there, which I've thought that before, but this one there seemed to be a little bit more play to that.
It's growing there, just because, I think there's
That's
that
what May
personal
said.
personal concern, but when you show a girl your scar, it usually gets to the next level, dude. So I'm thinking, hey, let me see your scar. And at that point, that's where you have the love scene, and they didn't get there. So it just be more
when
like...
you show a girl your scar, that's when it starts?
Well,
is that from the book How to Be a Player? Your first move?
Whenever I've shown somebody the Shatari scar on my chest, it usually gets me some action.
That was just a pimple scar that stayed, Jack.
Okay, that's really gross.
Oh, so but yeah, the scar scene was good. There was just lots of love going on here.
But I think it's friendship love. I don't think it's love yet. It could go
Right,
there.
but you're seeing those little sparks. I don't want it to go there. I don't want it to become Cheers, where one character is chasing another one for the entire series. Except I could see Fitz with his infatuation and Simmons not quite understanding why she doesn't love him.
Well, and
And that would be okay.
Right. Well, the thing that he did with Firefly was the mechanic and the doctor. The entire series were always almost there. They were getting there. They were
Right.
kind of there, and not until the end of the. I watched the movie that you were telling me about.
Oh, you did? You watched Serenity?
I did, and of course, it got almost to the very end of that where they said, "All right, it's sexy time." Now, they had done 14 episodes and a movie, and at the end of the movie, so
They said it's sexy time?
sexy time.
Did Benny Hill come out and run around the room?
Well, I think it did for that doctor character. Always seemed just so kind of naive to me, but. Oh, so I wouldn't have minded if during their little scene that Benny Hill had come out with the little bald guy and started running around.
You know what? I don't think I'd mind that in most scenes. What would happen if Benny Hill showed up on S.H.I.E.L.D? That would be the greatest.
I know.
Okay, there was a reference in here I want to bring up. Sky made a Big Lebowski reference when she said the dude.
The dude.
That was awesome, and they had no idea who Lebowski was. I'm like, that is just awesome.
Really? You don't... The dude... Really?
Really? You don't know who the dude is? Do you know how often Big Lebowski references are made in this house? Even our 6-year-old knows who Lebowski is. She calls one of her friends Lebowski because he wears a bathrobe when they go to the library.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. little 4-year-old she calls Lebowski. It's pretty funny. Okay, so... I diverted there a little bit. So, how cool was it? They had the Shatari helmet in this one. You know, we haven't even talked about what's happening in this episode. Let's talk about that for a second. So, basically, it starts out with the Goonies out in the forest having a... I say the Goonies because the Goonies yell. Did you notice that when they were in the truck?
No, that's a perfect adjective.
It was perfect, right? They just like the Goonies. And they're out there having a camping trip, and... all of a sudden, there's a haunted coffee mug that comes floating up behind, and they all run to the car, and then they find the battery blows out of the car, and their leader is floating in the air. I loved when they kept finding the floating bodies. I wish we had had more of those.
Yeah.
So it turns out that, and I'm just going to blow this whole thing wide open here just so that we can continue talking, that what we're seeing is not a supervillain. That's what I thought it was in the beginning. I'm like, oh no, another supervillain of the week. This was much more interesting than that. It was an alien virus that was getting in them and causing an electrostatic discharge, basically, that made something blow out of their head and then float in the air.
Right. Well, it destabilized the electromagnetic field so that they would float.
That was just really cool. I really enjoyed that. I also thought they did a really interesting thing here, too, where we find out that the guy was a volunteer fireman, and then we find out, the next guy was the volunteer fireman. It was getting a little obvious, like, okay, I'm thinking, and then they showed that one guy kind of making the evil face with the Shatari helmet, and you're like, okay, somehow he's turned into a bad guy, he's getting revenge on his firefighters. But no, once again, way more interesting than that.
Well, I think you could kind of see when he came out and he was all like pasty face and sweaty.
Well, yeah, that was later when he came out when the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents were there.
Right, the dude's got it. I mean, you knew that he was next.
Yeah, I liked that whole thing, though, that they were first responders when the aliens attacked New York. They kept the Shatari helmet in a case, and then you find out that they were just polishing it up, and that's how they got the virus.
Right. Once you're exposed to that electrostatic charge, that's how you're exposed. And I thought it was interesting when the guy was fixing the blow up, and Coulson sat down with him and said, "Dude, I know what it's like."
Oh, this was a good scene. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it was a great scene because not only was it very emotional, but you know, Coulson called for his. We find out later on that the physical he's taking, he called on himself because he doesn't feel quite right.
Right.
And
Right.
what
He
I'm
knows
thinking,
something is off.
right? He knows something is off. But when he tells the guy, I went to the other side. I was dead. And said they told me it was for what did they say? 8 seconds or four?
No,
Eight.
they said it was 8 seconds, and then May said whether it was 8 seconds or 40 seconds, it changes you.
It does. Yeah, but the thing is, that was later. Right then, he's like, I'm pretty sure it was longer than that.
Yeah.
Like he was dead, dead, dead.
Yeah, he was
And,
dead.
Something
Well,
that
he
they
crossed
did.
over. He was implying that he went to heaven.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's crazy.
It is. So, and in real life, when people have those experiences, you don't have to be gone very long to have that.
No.
But I think what they're saying is, Coulson might have been dead for like a whole day before they got his junk back together.
Well, yeah, we don't know. I mean, May is saying 40 seconds, but now, like you said, it could be a day. It could be, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know what they did to him. And we
Now,
also don't know if S.H.I.E.L.D. did it. What if it was a result of Loki's, pokey stick going through Coulson's chest, that it did something to him that all of a sudden he resurrected? That's when S.H.I.E.L.D. did whatever it did to him. Or maybe Thor did something. We don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe they wiped his brain, because he's not having some memories of this, or especially whatever the heck Tahiti is.
Right.
And which is nice that they haven't mentioned that in a couple episodes.
Right.
I'm getting a little tired of Tahiti. If you're not going to explain it, and quit mentioning it every 5 minutes.
Yeah, and let it sit there. Now it's the time to just let that sit there. And even with the Coulson thing, they don't need to address it. Maybe the next episode they don't really need to address it. Let it sit there.
Now the buzz on the forum is that he's a real life decoy.
Well, that's what I was saying. And
life
they're still saying that he's the Vision.
Well, to me was okay. Well, let me finish this, and then
go ahead.
I want you to explain. Now, the if he was a life model decoy, I don't think he would have the scar. Now, do you read me there?
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Like he would be. It'd be like a Ken doll. Why would you put that big scar on a Ken doll?
Right. Unless you wanted to say, oh, well, had this event. But, that's the thing is if you
that
were
could be,
that
Jack.
life model decoy, you wouldn't,
But you could have just hit it on the head. If the scar was added, the purpose for that would be to disguise the fact that it's a life model decoy. When May had him show the scar, the jig would have been up right there. So if they went to the trouble of making a life model decoy, they're going to include that because they really want to sell the show.
Okay, so from a Marvel perspective, I went back and we've been talking about his moving towards the Vision, which I disagree with a little bit because that makes him a superhero and takes him out of the team. But let's say it is moving in that direction.
Yeah, but does it take him out of the team 5 years from now or soon?
Yeah,
because
I
think
don't
about
know.
it.
I mean,
Avengers 2 is in 2 years. We may not find out he's the Vision until Avengers 3. Now you're talking 4 or 5 years from now.
Right. Well, that's true. They could, it's as far as Joss Whedon goes, that he's killed off. He killed off half the main characters in Firefly.
Right.
Right.
I said that before. He could wipe out people on this very easily.
Oh yeah. And so nobody's in modern TV land. None of the main characters aren't expendable.
Right.
But explain to me now, the Vision really
okay, I'm not going to be able to explain it. So here's a spoiler alert for all our listeners. Everything I say is going to be a bunch of crap. Okay, go ahead, Jack.
Okay, well, if I went back and looked at one of the one of the Vision comics,
Uh-huh.
and he really kind of seems more like, I don't want to say, less Magneto. But he's very much superhuman. And so where do you see the indications that he might be going into this character?
It's not one that I've come up with. It's something that I just keep reading because I think there's been, boy, I'm getting in deep already. He's an android. The Vision is an android, which, as they're kind of rewriting this whole history, and there have been a number of different characters that are the Vision, okay?
Right.
As they're kind of rewriting this, they could easily make the Vision be a real-life decoy and have it infused with Coulson's memories, and Coulson, comes into his own and becomes the Vision. He may have, this is going to sound weird, but he may have those abilities already in him, but number one, he may not know it, and number two, it may not be unlocked yet. Now, here's an interesting thing. The Vision was created by Ultron. So Avengers 2 is Age of Ultron, and how do we know that whatever they've got here doesn't get unlocked in Avengers 2, that we start finding out he's got these powers, which eventually leads him into being the Vision, and then eventually leads him, oh, wait a minute, that makes sense too, because the Scarlet Witch is in Avengers 2. They've already said that.
Right.
So why wouldn't they have a scene where the Scarlet Witch and Coulson are kind of getting closer, like he's a little smitten with her, and that actually leads to a relationship between the Vision and Scarlet Witch. It really is making sense that this could happen.
Well, and if they're moving to it, I don't know if you, I think we talked about this a little before, but the November 19th episode is going to continue where the film leaves off.
Right. So actually, let's address that really quick. I kept saying I was going to that Thor marathon, and something came up. I wasn't able to go, so then I said, okay, well, I'm gonna marathon it out at home, and then I'm gonna go see The Dark World Thursday night at the 3D showing. I actually decided against that. Now, did you see it already?
Doesn't that comes out today, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it showed last night.
Oh no, I don't do the midnight.
Okay, I don't either.
Showings or that kind of thing.
I don't stay up late. I don't get up early. I'm an old man. But it's all those years of playing in bands and acting and things where you were out till 3 and 4 in the morning. It completely took all that out of me. So now it's like 10 o'clock, 8 in the morning. Yeah.
Well, see, that's the problem. The problem is, mine's the exact opposite. I cannot even think about going to bed before midnight.
Yeah, well, because you still are actively playing.
Yeah, and the thing is I usually don't start my job till 10 in the morning.
Right.
So 12 to 8 is a really good time for me.
Right.
Now I do get involved in some things later on. But
okay, we don't need to hear about your personal life, Jack.
Hey. So anyway, we digress. Speaking of, now there is not going to be any Thor, according to...
Wait a minute. You're right, we did go off. Let's go back to what I was saying, and then we'll get back to what you were just saying. You did not see Thor 2, correct?
I guess I did. I thought I did.
No, Thor 2 is the one in theaters. It just started today.
Oh, yeah.
So you didn't see that. I am not seeing it until next week. So we'll do another Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode, and then I'm going to see it so that when the November 19th show happens, I will have seen it, and we can discuss Dark World and the new episode. Can you see it that week? So next week, can you see it?
Oh, I'm probably going to do it this weekend.
Oh, okay.
So,
don't talk about it on the next episode, though. I want to save it so that it's all tied into that episode. I want to be able to discuss it with the episode.
Well, actually, I'm going to tell you what happens at the very end on next week's episode. So if you want to dial in,
alert.
I will actually give you the spoiler alert so you can turn off the podcast, but I'm going to make Rob listen to it.
Oh, God. I hate you so early in the morning.
So, you know who directs this episode?
No. Which episode?
The
one we just watched,
the
or the
Agents
19th?
of S.H.I.E.L.D. that leaves off from the movie.
No. Who directs it?
Jonathan Frakes from Star
You're
Trek.
kidding.
No.
Okay, so you're probably going to get a lot of Jonathan Frakes hate because you always hear about, oh, he was terrible or whatever. When he had the beard, he was a better actor. But you know what? His directing, awesome. He has done some really awesome shows, and he directed First Contact, the Star Trek one where they battled the Borg. That was awesome. Like, he knows how to direct a big group, how to get character elements out of them, and how to have action. That November 19th is going to be awesome.
And he's directed other Wheaton shows, and nobody's really ever reacted negatively to that.
No, but there is a lot of hate when you mention his name, when people don't realize the amazing directing and show running that he's done. I'm excited. I didn't know that. That's really good news.
Yeah. So there's definitely there's not going to be any Thor in the episode, but it's going to take off everything after that.
Yeah. What happened as a result? Well, it's just like they're doing now. I mean, they make references to the alien attack on Earth. There's only so long they can do that. As these movies happen and these big cataclysmic events happen, they need to deal with the aftermath. And I think that's going to be really interesting.
So what about the fact, getting back to the show?
Yeah.
Okay, so Gemma gets infected. She gets the spark. She's checking out that very first body, and you see the little spark jump to her nose, and the body falls back down.
Yes.
So we don't know at this point, but she's been infected by the virus.
Yeah. This whole thing was cool. I like how that evolved. I like how Simmons came to her aid. Like, he went in there. Now he's infected, potentially.
Right.
No fear. He was there to save her. That was really awesome.
And I thought it was funny because the entire episode, he's not even going into the lab because you've infected my lab. Oh my gosh, you're going to get the cooties all over me. And, so
another great impression by Jack.
The fact that he just goes in and just, I'm coming in, I'm grabbing the helmet, screw it.
When she said he's a hero, he acted as a hero right there.
He did.
Absolutely did.
I think he would have jumped with the. I think he would have jumped through with the parachute if he could have figured out
how to get out of that room.
Right.
I think so too.
It was open, but I think he would.
Well, he essentially did when he went in that room. That was like jumping out of a plane.
Right. He was ready to go. I think he would have crashed and burned.
Oh yeah.
Had Ward not been there.
No, Ward knew how to do it.
Trying.
Ward totally did a James Bond move. It was like the beginning of Moonraker. Remember when he jumps out of the plane and he like is flying? Same kind of thing there. That was so cool.
Now I'd like to see a little more of that and a little less of his, emotional reactions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's what he is. He is that Bond. He is that Bond character, but there's just so much of that dang dialogue.
They need to develop that more. Because that is what makes him cool. It makes him very cookie cutter. But you know what? Let him be cookie cutter. Let him be the action star.
Right.
And let's develop these characters further. That's the big criticism I've heard of the show, is that the characters aren't developing fast enough. You know what? I want to say I agree, because there are... I'm waiting for things to happen that just seem to not be happening. But this episode, I think things were starting to happen. And I think as we go forward, you're going to see a lot more of that. I think they understand that.
Right. And I think, when you start a new show, you have to be very careful of some of these things that they look good on paper. But when you start seeing the episode, you say, oh, you know what? We need Wade to jump out of a plane and do something cool.
Right. Well, and the fact that they've given this the okay for a full year shows you that they're standing behind this. They know that they can evolve this thing. I have a lot of faith in it. I think they're going this direction. I think this week was a big step in the right direction.
Yeah.
That's at least how I took it.
Well, yeah, I think that is, like you say, it's the direction that they need to be going, and hopefully they'll continue that.
Now, did you anticipate Fitz jumping out of that plane? When she was standing there, I still thought she wasn't going to.
Yeah, and this was a little disappointing. I got spoiler alerted.
Oh, no. You knew she was going to jump out of the plane?
I knew she was going to jump out of the plane and get saved at the very last minute. I was doing some research on some of the Marvel news, because I'm not as plugged into some people on the Marvel thing. I really, I've always enjoyed the comics. I've still got my my giant like 2 foot by 3 foot Hulk thing, and some of the epic comics that came out, the Electro Assassin, but not really plugged in like some of the people are into the Marvel universe.
Right.
So, you know, I tend to, okay, you know what?
You're
I'm
doing a
going to
little
do a little
research.
research and see some of the news. And I had a blog from before the show came out, and I don't even know where this came up, and I don't want to see it again.
Oh no, and it totally spoiled it.
Right, I got the synopsis of the entire show. I could have done the podcast off that blog without ever having seen the show.
Yeah, it's best to just avoid. I mean,
Well, I didn't
seriously.
realize what was going on until I was like really already there. And it's like, "Oh crap, I just read the whole episode."
Yeah. Oh, avoid that in the future.
I know.
Yeah.
But so Toby Wilson is in. I did get that. Some of
What's
the next
that?
episode is Peter McNichol, Professor Elliot Randolph, Michael Graziati. Is that right?
I have no idea. So you're talking about in the next episode?
In the next episode,
Oh,
yeah,
I know
it had
nothing about
some of the characters: Aaron Way, Patricia Larson, Toby Wilson as Niels. So I think we're going to see some recognizable characters up in the next
Yeah, I
episode.
truly know nothing about this next episode, other than it's not called F.Z.Z.T. That's about all I know.
That was kind of funny though.
I thought that was an awesome name. Actually, do we know the name of the next episode?
We don't.
We do. It's called The Hub.
Ah,
Yeah, I just looked it up.
is that short for the hubby?
What?
Like somebody's getting married?
The hubby. Oh, hubby. I thought you had some weird thing going on. Okay, let's see. I've got a thing here about it. Dangerous secrets are being kept from Coulson's team, and he works the system to save Ward and Fitz when they are sent on a level 8 classified. Wait!
Level
Wait!
8? We just found out about level 7.
They're sent on a level 8 that may end in tragedy. Wait, level 8? What is level 8? And
I
that
know,
also, what does that mean? Like, what level are the Avengers? Are they a level?
That's a good question because they keep putting out these, these shield lingo and technical things, like would you even give the Avengers a level as far as clearance? I mean, they're locked into the freaking universe. Would they even care what level they are?
Yeah.
I mean, you would be so, if you could look through a house and find, whatever you want, or, you know, you know, with the superpowers, you'd be like, "Oh, you're only level 7. Yeah, I'm gonna reach in and I'm gonna boil your heart with my eye." You know, I don't think that would really apply to them.
Yeah.
Or like you say, that
Yeah, but they might just have a coding because they do have like IDs and stuff. So they might just be giving them a coding like you're level 12. These are the things that you have privy to, even though yes, you can see through walls and all that. They tried to keep things from them in the Avengers.
Oh, that's true,
So they
but
might have some type of level clearance that is specific to that group.
well, I think we would have kind of heard some sort of detail about that. I think they're outside that shield system. They're more like what they consider a protectorate, and I think they're more like their clients. It's like, okay, we work with these guys. They could like destroy the world. We give them a lot of leeway, but we're trying to protect the system.
Okay.
Yeah. That does represent an interesting viewpoint that,
Right.
where are they in that system?
Yeah. So here's a couple other things that are supposed to happen in this next episode. Agent Sitwell, who was Coulson's old sidekick, is supposed to be introduced back into this,
Okay.
and Agent Victoria Hand, who is an important character, she's going to be introduced into this, and I have a feeling she's going to be a regular character. So we're starting to expand out a little bit. And I read a really interesting thing. Now, this is something that is not tied to the next episode, but I did read a theory by somebody online. They were wondering if what we saw this week was somehow leading to the character Ms. Marvel being introduced. Because she has a lot of those same types of powers, and they're related to flying and shooting electricity and things like that. Could Ms. Marvel be introduced? And, I mean, there is a Ms. Marvel movie supposedly in the works. Could we be seeing it leading towards that? What if it turns out that is Fitz? Fitz is the girl, right?
Right, and like,
what if she turns out to be Ms. Marvel?
Well, that could be, because you've got the the change in the blood. She's got the antibody that keeps that from happening, but doesn't that imply that that's still in her system?
We don't know that it's out.
Right.
All we know is it was neutralized.
But here's the thing again, though. It's pointing to if the team kind of becomes superheroized, they're going to be out. Miss Marvel isn't going to be an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. anymore. She's going to be doing Miss Marvel things.
But like you said, this is a show potentially that isn't afraid to kill off characters. It's also not afraid, hopefully, to pull characters out. So this season, we're seeing this happen, but these people are getting exposed to all sorts of stuff. We could have, number one, Coulson becoming the Vision, and somebody else potentially becoming somebody else. They would just be off the show. It would just alter the show. Now, do I think they're going to do that to Fitzsimmons? I don't think so. I think Fitzsimmons is a really interesting combo. But maybe they have her develop that and we start to see that happening, but then she doesn't leave the show until the show's done and she evolves into Ms. Marvel.
Yeah, that's a way to go. It's not...
I don't want them all to get superpowers like that, but I think a couple of them, that could happen. They're getting exposed to this stuff firsthand.
Right, and it's not uncommon for Wheaton to finish everything in a comic or in a feature movie to tie loose ends.
Right. So let's wrap this up. I want to talk about some news real quick. A couple of different things. Is that it for the episode for you, Jack?
Yeah, I think so. I think the only unanswered question right now is where are they going with Coulson? To me, if he's an android, I don't see that you get how do you get past the physical? But other than that, I think we're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm just really excited about where things are going. I think the show is just getting better and better. I think we're on the road to this being a really cool, interesting show. We just got to give it time. We just got to stay in there with it and let it evolve.
Yeah, and you know what? I think what people forget is, even though it is, kind of hopefully like turns into like a cool, kind of James Bondish thing, it's still a Marvel comic.
That's right.
Don't forget, what is your target audience? Is it the, 20 to 40 that, remembers the old Marvel days? Or is this a true, this is Marvel, it's a movie comic.
Yeah.
And exactly. So you are going to get some kind of trite and kind of Marvelish.
You are.
Maybe not even, maybe trite's a wrong adjective, but, comics are for kids. And right. Even, some of us are just grown kids.
Right. They just need to infuse a little bit more. They just need to evolve it a little bit more. They need a little more character development. I think we're on that road.
Yeah.
I think they were trying to show, like, here's what's happening. It took them, 5 episodes to kind of show that, but now we kind of understand the language of this show. We understand what's happening a little bit better. Now let's develop those characters. Let's really get into the meat of this thing. And I think that November 19th episode is where that's going to start.
Yeah, I think we need a little less Justice League and a little more...
Marvel. A little more Avengers. A little more Marvel. That's what we need.
Yeah, what's like Dark Knight? Give it a little bit more edge.
Yeah, make it the S.H.I.E.L.D. Not S.H.I.E.L.D., but Vic Mackey's S.H.I.E.L.D. Vic Mackey's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That would be awesome!
That would be cool.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, and anyone under the age of 18, don't watch The S.H.I.E.L.D. Watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So let's talk about news real quick. We got to wrap this up. First of all, there was a thing I was reading on JoBlo.com. Colby Smulders, who played Maria Hill, we saw her in the pilot of this. She was in the Avengers. She was asked, what's going to happen with Maria Hill? Is she going to be in it further? She doesn't know. She said Avengers 2. She goes, I think I'm in Avengers 2, but it's very top secret. I hope I'm in Avengers 2. I didn't get my invitation yet. Uh, you know, of course she's going to be in Avengers 2. They used her in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They're going to use her in Avengers 2, even if it's a cameo. This is a character that they're going to use as glue for the series, for the whole universe. So she's going to pop up here and there in different roles. I would not be surprised if we don't start seeing her, just like we saw Coulson in some of the other movies, just popping up for a quick line here and there. She also mentioned how excited she is to read the script with Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch. Take that, add Ultron to it. This is going to be just really, really cool. So that was one thing. That's not the breaking news. The big breaking news, and this goes back to what we were saying on the last episode, Marvel is now teamed with Netflix. Did you read this, Jack?
I did not. That's pretty exciting news.
Okay, so remember last week when we were talking about how they had all these different shows they were trying to shop? They had the Agent Carter one, and there was a potentially one for Item 47, and they were trying to shop these around, and they were looking for some kind of partner for that. Okay, this is what's interesting. Those series that we were hearing about, that's not this deal. So really? That is still out there, because I know they're actively trying to do an Agent Carter series, and they're actively trying to do something with Item 47. But what they did do is they made a deal with Netflix to do TV adaptations. So we're talking at least 13 episodes, like a season like they do on like Netflix, of Luke Cage. Okay, so that was one. We were hearing rumors about a Luke Cage project. Here it is. We were also hearing about Iron Fist. 13 episodes. Jessica Jones. Now, this is a character I don't really know anything about. She looks like she's important when I read about her on, like, Wikipedia. I know people are probably like, you idiot, you don't know. I don't know. I don't know who this character is. But she's been in all sorts of Marvel things, and she was created by Brian Michael Bendis. I have a feeling it's going to be a really important, cool character, and she is tied into the new Avengers.
Okay.
So, interesting. And she's a partner with Luke Cage, so that makes sense that they'd be putting this together. The Defenders, which is a really cool comic, they're doing a mini-series on that. Okay? And then the biggest one, I don't know if this is the biggest to you. To me, this is the biggest. This is bigger than all of that. They're doing 13 episodes of Daredevil.
Oh, no way.
Daredevil is one of my all-time favorites. When people talk about like Iron Man and Thor, and when I was in high school and I was reading every Marvel book that came out, high school and college, it was every issue of anything with Spider-Man and anything Daredevil. Love Daredevil. The movie we've talked about before. A lot of people hate on it. I actually like it. I don't love it, but I like all this stuff. I like all the superhero movies. Even the bad ones. Even the David Hasselhoff Nick Fury movie. There's something I like about it. Okay? And Daredevil was definitely better than that. But the fact that they're going to reboot it with this new mentality that they have for these things, it's the new, Marvel. I am freaking out.
And it's
they're saying they could make it like an R-rated Daredevil too.
They could, yeah. If it's on Netflix, they could do a lot of things they can't do on network TV.
Yeah.
It's funny, when you first talked about Netflix picking it up, I thought you were talking about they were going to be picking up some of the one-shots and have some of their things available. But the fact that they are,
they're making shows.
Right, because, they announced that there's, at least 4 things in the works, and they're not going to have room for that on network TV.
Yeah.
And with these formats, with Hulu and Netflix and those kind of things, boy, you could just do anything.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. I am so excited about this. And you know what? We're going to continue this podcast. This is going to be part of this podcast. I mean, yeah, we're breaking down Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Let's get to these series. Can you imagine we break down Daredevil each week? And we're going to have so much to talk about. It's going to be awesome. Could Disney please hire us? Because we do need to eat. And we need comics and movies. So Disney could hire us as the Nuff Said Podcast, where we just talk all their Marvel stuff. And you're not getting the hate here because we love it.
So who's in
Was that
charge
enough
of
pandering for you, Jack?
Oh yeah, but it's obvious by your mic level just like went by
Oh yeah.
like two times exploded when we just started talking about Daredevil.
Oh, I can't wait. They need to do Punisher. They
Oh
need to do a
yeah,
Punisher show. Oh my
yeah
gosh. Oh, my head is exploding.
but yeah, it's definitely gonna be some fun because there is just gonna be Marvel stuff all over the airwaves.
Oh yeah. Between that and did you hear the other news? We're going to wrap it up, but one last thing. They announced the release date for Star Wars Episode 7.
Really? When is that?
December 18th, 2015.
Oh, very nice. So we don't have to wait. We don't have to wait only 2 years. I think last couple times we found out stuff like 3 years away.
Right. We're waiting 2 years. But here's the deal, Jack. Just like the Marvel thing, because Disney owns Star Wars also, just like the Marvel thing, the wait is over then. Because you're not going to wait 3 years between movies. Every year they're going to release, I think, 2 Star Wars movies after that point. Yes. Just like they're doing with Marvel, how they have, Thor and then Captain America and then Guardians of the Galaxy, all leading up to the next Avengers, which is in 2015. Same thing here. You're going to have Star Wars Episode 7, then you're going to have one-shots possibly about, Han Solo, Greedo, whatever they are, Boba Fett, a Boba Fett one-shot. Oh, I can't wait!
Would be asking too much to see Luke Skywalker just truly go in a room and just seriously kick some butt.
Do his thing? Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I really hope that they do things like there was a really great comic called Dark Empire. Those are really worth getting. Dark Empire 1 and 2. I would love to see them explore that with the movies.
Oh yeah.
That's where you see Luke Skywalker turn dark. He ends up becoming Darth Vader basically to the clone of the Emperor. So before the Emperor died, he cloned himself. Oh, it's a really great book. Really awesome stuff. And I could totally see that being made into something outside of the trilogy story. You know what I mean? Like its own isolated story.
You're kind of like the alternate universe where Luke does give in to the bad side.
Yes. I think that would be really fantastic. So, okay, off Star Wars. Looks like we've got a lot to talk about next week for sure. Let's wrap it up. This was the Nuff Said Podcast, brought to you by Southgate Media Group as part of the Input Junkie Network. Find our webpage. It is www.southgatemedia.com, and we've got all our different shows on there. Lots of new stuff, and lots of new stuff coming, including a Star Wars podcast. Radio Free Endor. That's going to start up in December. That's going to be awesome. Find us on Twitter, or you can find me. I'm at R.Southgate, and Jack, you're at...
Jay Wendrowski.
Okay. And we do stuff there. We also have a Twitter for the show, which is the Nuff Said It's just Nuff Said Podcast. Our Gmail for the show is I'm getting it wrong. nuffsaidpodcast@gmail.com. There's just lots of different ways to get to us. Actually, probably the most direct is go to Facebook, type in Nuff Said Podcast, like our Facebook page, and join in the conversation there. That's really the best way to get things going, and it helps build community here, which is really what we're all about. I think that's it. Jack, you got anything more?
No, I think that's it.
All right. For the Nuff Said Podcast, I am Reticulated Rob Southgate.
I am Jinxing Jack Wendrowski.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great week. That's it. Nuff said.